What up, good people, and welcome to another episode of Keep It Thorough, where we give you the real behind business, health, money, and self development, and introduce engaging concepts to help you elevate your performance in all areas of life. I'm your host, Cedric Lavelle, joined by my brother, my counterpart, Mr. E. Double.
Yes, sir. It's your boy E Double, and we back at y'all. We had to take a week off, man. Life got the life, you know what I'm saying?
Life
And we
got to
human.
life, and
But hey, man, we
boys
back
got to
at y'all season
vacating.
3. Hey, vacating. Boys got to getting sick, and you know what I mean. There was a
Yeah,
whole lot going on.
all that extra stuff.
But we back at y'all though, man. Season 3, episode 117, and the title of this episode is "The Future of Work: How New Innovations Are Shaping Careers and Industries." And real pretty title and all that. But we talking about AI, man. You know what I mean? We talking about
Let's just be real. Let's just get to the
yeah, I
chase.
mean, straight up. We talking about
Take the tag
artificial
off.
intelligence. You know what I mean? But real good episode for y'all, man. A lot of good information. And as always, be sure to check out the kit that corresponds with this episode on keepitthorough.com/kits. And be sure to podcast with us wherever you podcast. So let's go and kick it off, Sid.
Yes, sir, man. Let's get to it. So we are in a work era where being, I want to make sure I say this right, technologically fluent should be a priority with your professional foundation. And times have changed. The landscape of business has changed. Needs have changed. And as these new innovations began to emerge, the rapid technological evolution that we're experiencing, like I said, it's changing the landscape of business. It's reshaping how careers are built. It's changing how industries operate and what they do from an artificial intelligence, from automation, from collaboration tools. All of these things, they're reshaping how business is done, and it's driving a significant shift in career expectations. A lot of times when you're looking for jobs or wanting to transition with your career, a lot of the expectations are different. What's required is different. Your skill sets, your knowledge, a lot of those things are different. And then it's happening in every sector. Like there's no sector that hasn't been impacted by the transformation of business as it's being influenced by technology. And as uncomfortable as it may feel, and as uncertain things may be, the professionals who are able to thrive and experience success and are able to excel in their careers are the ones who embrace the change. They are the ones who are committed to learning and understanding how these things impact their role and impact their day to day and how it can make them efficient and all these things. They look at the benefits of those things, right? And just to be real, your willingness to evolve will put you in a position to elevate. And it's pivotal to get comfortable with what's new, right? Because the key to thriving in your work is through the doors of tech, right? That's the only way that you're going to be able to thrive and see the success that you want. And if you want to see that success, you got to start embracing tech, and you got to get familiar with artificial intelligence. Dun, dun,
Hey,
dun,
hey,
dun.
absolutely, man. And we gonna go through a quick little history lesson, right? The influence of innovation, and how that kind of affects careers or career paths or your career paradigm, right? So the industrial revolution, for those who are not familiar, right, was when we transitioned from creating goods by hands to using machines, right? And this goes ways back during like the 1700s, 1800s, and then like the second, so like 18th century, something like that. But then moving on to like industry 2.0, right? In like the 19th century, we started being able to like mass produce things with assembly lines, requiring labor, and electrical energy. You know what I mean? We got started getting a little bit more advanced. And you move along to, and I'm doing this real quick here, just for
A
history's
bite,
sake, to kind of talk about
a
how we
bite-sized version of it.
yeah, it's how we kind of got to where we are now, right? But then in the 20th century, we went through like Industry 3.0, which was automated production. So less labor required, a lot of machines, a lot of electronics, a lot of IT. And then now we move into today, which, in Industry 4.0 or, 21st century, right? And now things, we have intelligent production, right? We have incorporated Internet of Things and cloud technologies and big data and now artificial intelligence, right? So now even less manual labor, and in some situations, none. You know what I
Man,
mean?
yeah.
It can just do the whole thing for you. So with all that being said, right, like there's obviously an influence of innovation because as you walk through those, jobs changed, right? Like before the industrial revolution, you needed a whole bunch of manual labor because there were no machines. So everything was made by hand. So it was how many people can you get? You know what I mean? But then that switched, and then now we needed people who can work on machines and electricity and all these various different things. So now innovations in technology are not just tools to make things more convenient, right? But they also create career revolutions, right? For instance, automation and IT or not IT, automation and AI are expected to transform traditional manufacturing, finance, healthcare, and so many other roles. This transition creates a double-edged sword, though, where some jobs will disappear, new ones will emerge that will require more complex technological skills, kind of what Sid was talking about, and understanding this shift is crucial for anyone looking to future-proof their career. So if you're working in an industry or sector that is about to be replaced by AI, then you probably wouldn't be smart to continue investing in that industry, right? You want to pay
Right.
attention to that and to those shifts, and move into something that's more future proof. But the second layer of this transformation involves how these technologies foster new ways of working, right? So think about before COVID, remote work or working remotely used to be considered a niche. It was temporary. Not too many people
Right.
did it. But now it's a staple in modern employment,
Right.
supported by a whole bunch of new digital platforms that enhance productivity and communication, like Teams and Google Hangouts, Google Meetings.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on some of the names of some of the other ones because I use Teams primarily. But all of
What's the
those
other one?
platforms
Zoom.
got Zoom. You know
Zoom
what I
one of them.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of them. All of those platforms got way better though, right? And
Yeah.
then they added so many different features for bigger groups and higher resolution, better audio,
Right. Yep.
better noise cancellation, and all these different things, ways to blur your background, put you in a space for privacy if you don't want to show your house off. You know what I mean? Just, all these types of things to improve, that remote working experience. And then this shift changes not only where we work, but it affects, workplace culture and then that personal work-life balance. And if I'm being completely honest with you, working remotely probably did affect workplace culture, but it made your personal work-life balance better. And if I'm being honest with you, I'd rather have my workplace culture affected and have better work-life balance because I care about my family more than my coworkers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And we just got to find new ways to foster that workplace culture by still having meetups and things like that. You know what I mean? But the whole point of this segment or section, right, was really just to talk about the influence of innovation. And through, over the centuries, we've had, new technologies and new ways of doing things that have affected jobs and, career trajectory and career paradigms and all these different things. And AI is just the newest version of that, Um, and it's going to happen at an accelerated pace, at a faster pace than previously because of the nature of where we are and just how quickly things change now. But it's very important to embrace it.
That's big, man. And one of the biggest things, obviously, that happens with all of this new technology is being able to embrace change. being able to embrace something that's unfamiliar and different, because a lot of times in business, one of the most challenging things that you have to experience as a leader, as a director, whatever your title may be, if you're in an upper leadership position, it's always change. How do you get people to change? How do you get people to shift their behaviors and their way of thinking as it relates to these new innovations and new ideas being introduced? And that's challenging a lot of times. It's hard to get people to see the big picture and the reasoning behind that, right? But change is the gateway to innovation, and it's the path to uncovering new opportunities. And if you desire to be more within your industry, or if you want to do more within your industry, you have to recognize the insights of your industry. Like E was saying, like if you know you're in a role where certain things are happening with these new technological advancements coming in, certain things are going to change, and you may have to shift or pivot in your career. Those are insights that you're aware of. And so if you know these things and you know that change is inevitable, you want to put yourself in a position to capitalize on these transitions in your industry, or even the industries that you desire to be in, and there's all sorts of different ways that you can do that, but you have to be willing to change and embrace a lot of the new things that are going on, i.e., the expansion of the gig economy, right? So with freelancers and contract work, when you're exploring these particular platforms, they allow you to utilize skills that you have to sharpen them, but they also give you an opportunity to leverage a new skill that you might have just learned. So say you know that you're um, going to be shifting careers or wanting to do something different, and you just learned a new skill, you can go into these freelance websites and take on contract work, take on freelance work, and just kind of like sharpen that skill set to make you more marketable, to get some projects under your belt. And now certain transitions and certain things that are going on within your industry may not seem as daunting to you because you're kind of getting your feet wet, you know? And so thinking about it from that aspect can give you leverage and give you an opportunity to thrive in your career. You know what I'm saying? And the next thing is just continuous learning. Never stop learning as technology continues to advance and move forward, whether it's AI, whether it's robotics, whatever the case may be. You want to continue to learn. And when you're learning, that just keeps you a step ahead of everyone else, and that's essential to your career growth. That's essential to being able to upskill within your industry, because as things change, you're continuing to sharpen your skill set, you're continuing to learn new things, and that's going to benefit you in the long run. And then just to go back to what E was saying about remote work, there's advantages and disadvantages of working remotely. It takes a certain type of person to be able to effectively do their work and not be distracted by being home and being in your own domain or being outside of an office. But that is something that you can explore as well too. So whether you're wanting to get better work life balance, if you're wanting to be closer to your kids, whatever the case is, like I said, there's advantages and disadvantages. But again, ultimately, you want to be open to change, and when you're open to change, that gives you an opportunity to embrace all the things that's going on within your industry and be able to think clearly to effectively make decisions and allow these changes to be beneficial for your growth in your career.
Hey, so moving on to the next section, right? It's really about adapting to new norms. And even though at the top of this I mentioned AI, this doesn't really just pertain to AI. This pertains to, this entire episode pertains to just the workforce and the workplace and environment in general. Like things are always changing. We've always had new technologies, new ways of doing things, new industries created, so on and so forth. And artificial intelligence is basically doing those same things, but in a much faster and,
Faster way.
and different way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
absolutely.
in an ever changing digital landscape, right? Integrating artificial intelligence into different technologies and systems will become the norm. It's already starting to happen. A lot of people don't realize it's happening, because by the time they realize, it's going to be everywhere. You know what I mean? But well established companies will look to enhance productivity and improve overall job satisfaction. And obviously, there's going to be a strong resistance from employees, anxious about their job security. And we're already seeing that, right? Like, oh, is it going to take the jobs? Is it going to take the jobs? It's going to take the jobs, right? But as the technology becomes, or as the practice rather of integrating AI into these various, systems and different technologies, as that becomes more common, it'll shape a new paradigm in the workforce, emphasizing the need for adaptability and proactive engagement with new technologies. So, as people start to use the technology, see how it's being used, see how it's benefiting them, see how it's actually having a positive impact on overall job satisfaction, productivity, as it's creating new jobs, new industries, new sectors. As you see breakthroughs in medical or finance and all these various different things, then people will start to kind of warm up to it and embrace
Right.
it a little more, and it'll become the norm. No different than how smartphones or laptops or computers or whatever else technology advancements that came along that people were hesitant about at first, right? But companies that are quick to adapt are finding that these changes safeguard the future and drive innovation and efficiency. And it's setting a new standard in the industry. And then not just companies, individuals, right? Like myself and said, we've used AI a lot throughout this whole podcast. But even outside of the podcast, just in my overall work, in my day job and other companies I got, um, I use it all the time. I use it every single day. It's not a day to go by that I don't use it. So me as an individual, I'm seeing benefits, and it's helping me, adapt to certain things and become more efficient. But when you scale that to a company, and when they're able to integrate it into like their tools and systems, you can see how it can be like extremely beneficial. But
Right.
again, it's just about adapting to the new norms, right? And the one constant in life is change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the one constant. Something always gonna change. So, we just got to be open to it. And we always talk about perspective. And again, this just comes down to that, your perspective on things. You can cry about it and it's new stuff new and it's aliens and robots and
All sorts of different
what I mean, all
things.
type of
Yeah.
craziness. But break it down into digestible, bite-sized pieces. You know what I mean? You don't got to learn it all. You don't got to understand it all, but start wrapping your mind around it. And the more you come in contact and hear about it, the more it'll make sense. But hey, adapt to the new norms, man.
Got to do that. Got to be able to adapt. And when you talked about it, when you talk about adaptability, that makes me think about flexibility. In order for you to adapt, you have to be flexible. And flexibility impacts your career stability. And as technology continues to shift, your ability to adapt is a requirement for longevity. If you want to last in your industry, you have to adapt. If you want to be able to thrive within your industry, you have to change. You have to have a different perspective and have a different lens that you're looking through. Because if you're thinking about things in the old way of doing it and how it used to be done, you're going to fall behind. You're gonna miss that the shifts and the changes that are happening that can benefit you essentially because you're still stuck on an old way of doing things, right? And old views don't open up doors to new opportunities. If you're still viewing things from an old way, you're not going to see those new opportunities. And of course, you're going to feel discouraged or upset or believing that it's not effective or it's not helping you because you're looking at it from a skewed lens, or you're looking at it from a way of being negative, and that's not going to help you. So you have to go into these situations with new ideas, new thoughts, new ways of doing things. You have to embrace lifelong learning. Like we were talking about earlier. We can't stress that enough, right? So how keeping your skills fresh and staying in the loop with new technologies, those things are going to be vital. Those things are going to be highly beneficial for you, right? And if you want to thrive and if you want to experience success, you're going to learn. If you know your job requires it, you're going to learn what needs to be learned, and you're going to do those things because you know that they're going to help you and give you a leg up. The next thing that I think people have to understand too, you're going to have to develop your soft skills, right? And so with machines taking over the routine stuff, your soft skills really have an opportunity to shine, right? So skills like critical thinking, effective communication, showing empathy, those things will be more important than ever. And technology can't replicate certain forms of human touch. It's not going to happen, right? And so if you start looking at it from that perspective, from that lens, and focusing on those soft skills, those things are going to be able to give you a leg up as well. We can also talk about having flexible work hours, right? There's flex schedules where certain industries are doing like 4-day work weeks, or you have certain schedules when they work in shifts. Like he was saying earlier, with COVID happening, a lot of things that businesses didn't do, they started doing. A lot of things that they were resistant or reluctant to do, they became more open to doing those things, because what it showed is businesses can still operate and function at a high level without everybody having to be there at the same time. You
Yeah,
know what
well,
I'm saying?
they when they were forced to do it, and then they were able to cut costs and still see
Results.
gains and results. It changed their way of thinking, right? Like, because they were forced to. Like, they
Right.
weren't about to take that experiment on their own. Like, all right, let's just send everybody home and see if the work get
See
done.
if it works.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But when they seen that, and it was opportunity for them to cut costs, like, okay, well, damn, maybe we don't need all these big
maybe.
ass buildings, and maybe we don't need, you know what I mean, all these things. We can just, invest in our workers at home. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that and
Decentralizing.
and then now for workers, right? Like me, I'm never going to go work in another building. You know what I'm
You say
saying?
you
Like,
done.
I can't do it. You know what I'm
My
saying?
wife the same
It's
way.
yeah, you know what I mean? It just can't happen now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's no reason for it to happen. And honestly,
Right.
there was no. Well, I'm not going to say there was no reason for it to ever happen, because technology is what has allowed this to be the case. We didn't have the same technology that we have now 20, 30 years ago, so it wouldn't have been possible.
Yep.
But now it is, and now with AI, even newer things are about to be possible. You know what I mean? So
The landscape is changing, and not only with that, like we was talking about earlier, diving into the gig economy, right? So if you're not wanting to be in a traditional work setting, having contracts, doing freelance work, it's a great way just to gather a wide range of experiences and really just get a feel of different work styles and different types of projects. Just kind of like finding your footing in this whole transition of technology. And so once you start exploring these new skills, having these new certifications, getting introduced to new things, start doing contract work, start doing freelance work, and those things can open up doors of new opportunities where you can say, you know what, I'm effective at doing this, or I'm actually good at doing this, or I like doing projects like this. So now if you decide to go work for a company, you know exactly what you're looking for. You've had some projects that you've done. You have a vision of what your career can look like. And that goes into the next thing, just having career moves, understanding how your trajectory of your career is moving, and knowing that it's smart to be thinking a few steps ahead. Be forward thinking and evaluate how secure your current job is, and think about moving into areas that are expected to grow. And so when you start thinking about things more strategically within your career, then you can start seeing the fruits of your labor, and you don't have to be fearful of change in the adoption of this new way of doing business.
yes, sir. So really, in summary, man, it's really just about embracing innovation, preparing for like the evolving demands of the job market. Um, you know, and that includes individuals as well as organizations, and just staying up to date on the skills that are necessary for you to thrive. Understanding AI, on the surface, it seems like a very complex, um, like, man, like, okay, I kind of know what it is, but like, not really. Like, you know what I mean? What do I do with this? Like, how do I, you know what I mean? So it's very important to utilize the time that you have now, right? Because as said mentioned earlier about, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but it was something along the lines of staying up to date, not being left behind, right? And the reality is there's companies that exist right now that's not going to exist because of AI. And some companies have already made early investments that are going to pay dividends. And the companies that haven't, it's too late already.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen the impacts of it yet. You know what I mean? And that same thing is going to happen with individuals, right? So right now, I still think we're in a place where a lot of people still have time. Like, it's on an individual level, on a worker, upskilling to be able to, provide value to a company. I think, we're still at a spot where you have a little bit of time. So use that opportunity and seize that opportunity to use these free tools and resources
Yeah.
to get brought up to speed, right? Like, and right out the gate, if you wanting something to learn, go learn prompt engineering. Go
Mm-hmm.
learn that. That's what you need to learn. Of all else, if you want to take away tangible, you get anything out of this, prompt engineering. And simply put, all that is learning how to properly ask questions to AI to get the most out of it. That's in simple terms, that's all it is. Because in a lot of these different systems, when you're interacting with the AI, it's going to be conversational and it's just going to want to take direction. But if you can't give good direction, if you can't, like was said,
Articulate.
mentioned about soft skills and critical thinking and being able to break things down into smaller chunks and not throwing too much at it at once and all those different things, right? Like, all of that is prompt engineering. And you just have to learn how to, um, those soft skills, as crazy as it is, those soft skills are going to become beneficial when interacting with AI as well as humans. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
going to be
You're right.
beneficial on both ends. But go look up prompt engineering, right? And then if you want some tools, right, that you can go play around with where you can practice prompt engineering, and you can even ask these tools how to get better at prompt engineering, go play with Bing Copilot. Go play with ChatGPT at openai.com. Go play around with Dolly, which is an image generator. You can also play around with Dolly on Bing Copilot, but then go play around with Gemini, which is Google's AI assistant, right? And then there's a whole bunch of other free AI tools that you can use and play around with to just get familiar, see what's possible. Play around with it with the way you ask questions to see kind of what works and where you're getting better results. And just get those reps in. You know what I'm saying? So, and then find some use cases that can benefit you. Maybe
Right.
you've been trying to uh go on a diet and you don't know the best way to attack it. Like, okay, use it to create you a diet plan or a workout plan, or use it to plan your next trip, or use it to update your resume, or use it to maybe you've been wanting to start a book, use it to write a couple chapters of your book. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, just get some reps in so that you start getting familiar with it. So now when it comes up on a as a requirement in a job
Right.
interview, that you understand prompt engineering, or you understand how to work with Office 365 Copilot, M365 Copilot. It's not out of left field. You're like, oh, okay, I got a general idea what that is. I know how I can use that to write up this marketing material for the company. Like, I know how I can use that to analyze these Excel spreadsheets. So like, I know how I can use that to, do whatever the case may be, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about efficiency and improving
Right.
efficiency. And when you know how to, be a good prompt engineer, it's very, very
Just
huge skill, and the number
you
one
in there.
skill from a user standpoint. With all that being said, you want to add anything, said?
No, sir, I do not.
Hey, but we greatly appreciate y'all. Everybody who tunes in week after week, constantly get views. Not a week to go by that somebody ain't watching and tapping in. So we greatly appreciate y'all. And
Absolutely.
y'all know how it go, man. If you don't do nothing else,
Yeah.
keep it
Keep it
thorough,
there, bro.
and we'll holler at y'all next time. Deuces.